So I'm with Max from Magic Design. We're going to have a short conversation about how he built his productized service, a subscription design service. Before we start, it's going to be a new video series where we'll go through the stories of founders and how they basically got the idea of their business, how they found their first customers, the obstacles and marketing strategies they have been through, and basically just some learnings they've had and that they're happy to share with you guys. So hi, Max. Welcome to the first video.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Max. So yeah, before we get into it, I met you like recently actually in Bangkok, where you shared a very interesting story about your entrepreneurship journey. Similar to me, you never really worked for someone. You just went into entrepreneurship. It would be awesome if you could tell me a little bit of background story and especially your recent exit. I think that would be very interesting to the audience.
Yeah. So I think I started to build websites, create graphic designs and all of that stuff when I was 13 years old. And back then it was crazy because there weren't so many people doing it. And it was quite challenging back at that time to create these things. But for me, it was just fun. And as a student, you had like literally unlimited time. And so I went to these online websites and created different offers for grown-up people back then. And I started to sell my services. And I was always asking myself, it's crazy that someone is paying me something for stuff that I would do for free because it was literally just fun doing it. And that was my start into my entrepreneurial journey. But I've never thought that I would actually become an entrepreneur myself, because in my head, it was always like consulting is the best job you can get. And so everything was like more pointing into that direction. But then at some point I switched it a little bit, and during my first semester at university, then I co-founded a company in the education space, and the rest is history, because since then I've never worked for someone else and have built several companies over the last 10 years.
Interesting. And so one of those companies was Base Templates, right? So what happened with that company? What did it do?
Absolutely. So Base Templates was a company that actually helps founders with their fundraising, but in terms of like A, digital products, and B, services. So if you want to raise money for many requests, for example, you can go to Base Templates, get a pitch deck template, can get a SaaS financial model template, and really level up everything that you have in terms of material for your fundraise. And I created it out of my own journey, I would say, because when I was first raising money for my education startup, I had no clue what I was doing. So my pitch deck looked very shitty. I talked to the wrong investors. I talked to too little investors and really failed with my first fundraise. But afterwards, I wanted to learn everything about it and actually really enjoyed everything that relates to this like founder-investor interaction. And at some point, I realized, hey, why not create products out of it and actually build a platform, build a lot of content around it. And yeah, at the end of the last year, we sold the company to a US company, and that was quite a ride, because you always think, hey, the exit, that's the big goal for your company. But at that time, Magic Design was also already going really well. So it almost felt like a regular day in the office, because we signed the deal and then 5 minutes later we were onboarding new clients to Magic Design. I think as an entrepreneur, you always keep going. It's impossible to stop.
So Base Templates was basically a sort of marketplace where you can just download paid, like free and paid templates, find slides and that kind of stuff. You didn't start a company, right? You purchased it, or how did it go?
It was back in 2019 when I was thinking about the idea of actually acquiring a company that has already some sense of product market fit and then just bringing it to the next level. Because I always realized the first step to go from 0 to 1 is so hard, and actually driving the first traffic, having the first customers, that's the hardest part of building a business. So I was looking for different businesses that I could potentially buy and found Base Templates from a guy in the Ukraine. So he was building it for 2 or 3 years, had a little bit of traffic, was doing some solid sales, so a couple of sales per day. And then I thought, okay, this is something that you can easily leverage with my skill set. And so I talked to him, we cut the deal, and then something interesting happened because I wired the money for the transaction. Then we moved over all of the domains, the website and everything. And right after this point that we got it, there was no sale for the first 10 days. And I was thinking, okay, shit, I burned all of my money that I had left and I was scammed or something. And that was just a weird coincidence that there weren't sales for the next 10 days. But we had the plan to like pay back the money to ourselves from profits of 2 years or something. But then 6 months in the journey, we had already so much money earned that we had like a positive ROI.
So that was base templates. And now your main and only business, right, is Magic Design. Was basically Magic Design created as a result of your experience as base templates and like your needs and your problems, or it was a separate idea? Like, how did you come up with the idea of Magic Design?
Yeah, so actually over the last 10 years, all of the companies that I've built myself or invested in quite a lot, so I have also 20 investments all around the world, they were all struggling with graphic design at some point, because you always need to create a lot of assets for your social ads, for your newsletters, organic stuff, everything. And you can really try to hire a good team in-house, but it's really, really hard. So a lot of people, and we also opted in for agencies or freelancers, but this was most of the time not very, very efficient in terms of cost, but also the speed was always too slow for the things that we were doing. And then at some point, my co-founder told me about this productized service model, I think because he read some of your articles from the early ManyPixel days, and that was already 3 years back or something, and he wouldn't stop talking about it. And so at some point when we had freed up some time exactly 1 year ago, we thought, okay, let's give it a shot and build our own version out of it.
Right. And so that was more or less in January 2023, right? When you first did a
Correct.
page
Yeah.
and started onboarding the first customers. What was your process in kickstarting things? Like what are some of the first things you did getting the first customers, creating the landing page and that kind of stuff?
My biggest learning of being an entrepreneur is that everyone underestimates the distribution part of building a business. Building your own product, setting up the processes, everything, that's a lot of fun. And I would also describe myself more as a product guy. But most of the businesses that I've seen only fail because of missing distribution. So we wanted to do it a little bit differently for Magic Design, and we started to build up a simple landing page for the services that we offered and for the graphic designs that we put on our references section or our work section. It was just stuff that we created purposely just for this thing. There weren't any clients involved for the first ones. And then we started to sell from day one. So we went out and did 2 things. First thing was we approached our own network of people that we knew, and then did outreach and said, hey, look, we want to create this new company and we want to have a customer discovery call with you. So actually doing an interview, asking them, hey, how do you solve your design needs? Out of these interviews, we got the first customers because people then realized, okay, the solution that these guys provide is actually really interesting. And then second up, we started to do very, very personalized cold outreach. So sending emails specifically to companies with a Loom video that we created specifically for that company. And this was working quite well. So I think in the first months, we got 5 customers or something. And the problem that we had, we didn't have any designers yet. My co-founder and myself, we were there. We had the first customers and they were starting to put in requests, and we weren't thinking already about hiring a designer, or we didn't have pipeline yet. So we needed to do the designs, and we can design a little bit, but I would never describe myself as a designer. And then the first task that was ever submitted to Magic Design was a company that was requesting a logo design and a full rebranding. 2 of the most complicated things that you can do, and not something like, I don't know, social ad where we can just copy and paste a bit. That meant to do 1 or 2 night shifts to push out some logo designs. And I think the first drafts that they got were 20 different logo variants, because we were so unsure about if you can even send this out. But then the client was happy and they are still using the logo.
That's awesome. Once you first started your pricing, currently your pricing is around $2,000 a month, right? I think. Was your pricing the same when you started a year ago?
It was a little bit lower. I think it was 1,790, and then just a small increase.
Right. And how did you come up with that number with the pricing? Was it thinking, oh, this is kind of the same as a part-time designer in Germany? What was your rationale to come up with that pricing?
Yeah. So our idea on the pricing was to make it way cheaper than hiring a person in-house, so that we have a no-brainer offer from that side. But at the same time, we didn't want it to be too cheap, because we were thinking that it would attract the wrong group of clients if we would do a pricing of $999, for example. Because in our customer discovery, we were testing a little bit with different prices, and then realized the people that were very, very sensitive about the pricing are not the customers that we wanted to have, because they were expecting way more output and they were always trying to negotiate even with the lower price. And for the bigger ticket, most of the clients were just okay, let's just do it.
Yes. What I think is that pricing matters a little bit less for like those more established customers that just want to find a solution that works for them. It could be 2, 3. Okay, of course there is a ceiling, but generally pricing is a second issue, not the main goal of getting the cheapest service possible. And that's awesome. So today, in terms of revenue and number of customers, like where is Magic Design after exactly 1 year?
Yeah. So I think the first year was quite good. So we are around like 50 customers right now, just about to break the 1 million ARR mark. And we were from our own plans expecting it a little bit earlier, but that's always the thing that you as an entrepreneur need to do. You need to set yourself stretch goals and then land somewhere in between, and then everything will be fine.
That's the way to do it. So when I met you, you mentioned you started hiring a lot this year. So the first year was more trying to find a kind of product market fit, the right customers for your team and hiring the designers, putting the operations team. And this year is more focused on marketing and growth then, right? So can you tell me a little bit more about your plans for the next few months?
Yes. So what I realized over the last year, I was always telling to every single candidate that I interviewed that in terms of marketing and sales, we were doing 5% of what we can do. So we were doing it very, very slowly to make sure that we have all the processes in place and that we can make sure to deliver a good quality. So really, really focused on building all of this up. And this is how it resulted in this number of clients. And then at some point, end of last year, we realized, okay, I think we need to put some more oil in the fire and started to hire more roles, and now hired a lot of roles that are not designers and not art directors / project managers. So in our terms, overhead costs. And that means for us right now that we are probably not as profitable as a lot of like other vendors out there, or not as profitable as we could be. But we are here for the long term, and we are building the foundation now to make Magic Design way, way bigger than what it is right now. And I want to make sure that it doesn't matter for us if we have 10 designers, 20 designers, 100 designers, or 200 designers on the platform, so that we can really scale through hundreds or thousands of clients.
Which kind of roles did you start hiring for growth? Like what was the first hires?
Yeah, so I think the first important hire for us was a very good marketing role that we hired. Then we added another person in talent acquisition on top of it, because in this business, you will only scale with more people. So you need to make sure that the pipeline is always filled with enough good designers, and he's taking care of that. And then in addition to that, we also had another marketing and business development person that just recently joined.
Nice. So one of the things when I started my productized service, in terms of marketing, we were always thinking which marketing channel should we prioritize. We have outreach, SEO, social media, paid ads, and that kind of stuff. So for the moment, what's your thought process when it comes to deciding which marketing channel to focus on?
Yeah, that's a really, really hard question, because a lot of my previous businesses, we were always very, very focused on driving organic traffic. And I think we will do the same for Magic Design long term, but this is not something that will show any results in the next, 6 months or 12 months. Right now, we are really, really focused on building up everything that relates to referral, current customers saying or spreading the word about Magic Design. And on the other side of things, outbound.
Right. What I found helpful, and I don't know if you guys are doing it, is case studies and maybe interviewing customers as well. So for example, having an industry page, and then for each vertical that you target, let's say design for real estate, then having a deep case study for those business, and then reaching out to businesses in the similar industry. Yeah. Have you done any kind of case study or marketing activities? Yeah,
we just started that. So I think the first case study was uploaded yesterday on the website, and now we are pushing out one per week, because I realized these case studies are way more work than expected, and it took a little bit longer.
Right. Yeah, so that's really great plans for the year. Now back to 2023, what were some of the biggest obstacles you guys faced? So going from 0 to almost 1 million ARR in 1 year, it's really fast growth. And I think this growth usually comes with some hurdles. Some things break, right? Or like you have to put really long hours. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So 2 thoughts about this. First one was, in the beginning, you as a founder, you are literally doing anything. and you are deeply involved in all the processes. And the challenging part always starts when you start hiring people to do stuff, because someone else is taking over that is probably doing it a little bit differently than you would. And you need to also delegate some stuff or like give them feedback on a lot of things. And that at first hiring a person always slows down the process instead of accelerating it. And then the second thing was to just like the pure amount of people that we needed to hire. So we grew from just us two to 21 people right now. And that was just like a huge effort to make sure that everyone knows exactly what they are doing, but also to set up the right hiring process.
Gotcha. And I think the talent acquisition person that you've just hired will hopefully take some of the work off your hands, because you're quite still involved in hiring, I suppose, for the marketing roles. Okay, well, that was great. That's a good story. And I hope you will reach those goals this year and the years to come. Can you tell me a little bit more about how we can learn more about you? Anything you want to share, like big learnings, anything else you want to share to end this video interview?
Okay, so biggest learning for all people out there that are listening is actually your biggest lever as someone who's building a company will always be your focus, because you as an entrepreneur, you will always have unlimited ideas, but limited resources. And with unlimited ideas, I mean, there are tons of marketing channels that you can do. You can have new products all the time. But if you start like 10 things at the same time, 10 things will be unfinished. And if you just focus on one or two things, it's like way better to do this. And yeah, if you want to follow the Magic Design journey, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. We are sharing a lot of content about it, how we build it. That's it.
Yes, I really like this big learning. We have a kind of entrepreneur disease where you always come up with a new idea and you see the opportunities everywhere, and it's easy to start many things, especially also for one business. Like there's so much we can do in terms of marketing. Well, thanks, Max. That was a pleasure. Happy to have chatted with you today. So I'll record this, publish this in a couple of days. So thank you.
Thank you so much.